Alex, are you ready to explore the deep, dark recesses of your own mind?
Please don't look under the hentai cover book area. Don't go that way.
I'll stay clear of there.
But we're not going to stay clear of the tentacles.
Mind if I join?
Another Let's movie. We're doing Dagon, directed by Stuart Gordon. It's based off of an H.P. Lovecraft book, hence the tentacle joke.
Mm-hmm. Dude, what if I had webbings in my fingers, dude?
I wish I had webbings for this review.
I probably don't think I'd let you in the house. I'm like, he's got to go. He's got to go. I mean, what up? They do nothing but moan in the movie. There's
I thought the sound production was actually good. We'll get to it, though, and eventually. So what movie are we reviewing today out of the H.P. Lovecraft media?
Yeah, so to kind of brush into Dagon a little bit. Dagon is H.P. Lovecraft's story that they kind of worked into this movie. It's about an underwater god a little bit. This movie was... Population 436 was... I like that more than this movie.
Oh, my.
Say it right now.
Oh,
I'll put it out there.
We'll talk about that. There's a lot of things
This movie had zero Fred Durst.
You're right. That maybe brought it down a point. I still think it's better. See, look at that. Your own body is betraying you. Your decision to say that population 430.
I inhaled as soon as I said that, I inhaled a dust thing.
I think Dagon's working his magic in this room right now.
First off, tell me that the underwater effects in the beginning. So in the movie we open it up and our main character Paul, we don't know his name yet, swimming underwater, and the underwater credits happen and they pull the name Dagon. I'm telling you, there is something so pristine about shitty water CGI, because it just makes the movie just look... It made it look like they were filming the one scene where he goes underwater and he's looking at the camera in a bathtub. Like a real deep bathtub. Or like a swimming pool room where they turned all the lights down.
It was a small source of water that they were filming in. Yeah, sure.
But
was there CGI, though?
Oh, yeah, well, that hole in the ground has got to be CGI.
Oh, yeah.
Either that or they did the thing where it's perspective, where they made the smaller person swim in front of it.
And then he sees a mysterious woman appear. Like a siren mermaid.
Tasteful nipple within the first 2 minutes of the movie, which is also another sign this movie might be in for something. I think any movie that they start off originally just showing you little.
Sorry, we live in the modern day where everybody's just clothed up. Don't look at me. I want to express myself, but don't look at my body.
Goes in the water, sees this woman, immediately tentacles his mouth, which also a good sign for your first date, I think.
Mm-hmm. Nipples and tentacles.
And then, I love it. So he wakes up from a nightmare, with his attractive fiance girlfriend Barbara,
like a groupie that turned to wife because he's a tech mogul.
Yeah, he's got Silicon Valley cash,
90s Silicon Valley.
But I love it that he's just like, I hope it's my stomach. I hope it's not an ulcer. He's just popping more. I was like, what a weird. I think they really tried to make Paul in this movie just seem
little neurotic.
A real. Real, just not just a little neurotic, but just also kind of real, wimpy, you know.
A little bit of wimp, I guess. He's a little awkward.
He couldn't stop working on his computer. And they're in Italy on a boat. They're hanging out with their other rich friends. They're filthy rich, and this guy's checking his stocks. Mm-hmm. If I was Barbara, I'd be mad too. Put that bad boy out of there.
So apparently this is a reoccurring dream. Barbara's just like, oh, was it that dream again? He's like, yeah. Paul's agrees that this is a problem. And then she tries to give him here, let me stress relieve you and give you a little sloppy Joe downstairs. Yeah. And she's like, no. No, Barbara.
He's like, I'm not enjoying this right now. Dude, what the are you doing?
I'm sorry, but when a man is dealing with the deep ones whispering in his ear, he doesn't have time for little sloppy Joe cummies, okay?
Dude, again, they are on a boat. that they don't even own. It's like a guest boat for a vacation. They're in Italy. His girlfriend, attractive woman, he's a millionaire. And all he could think about is work, and he just pushes his attractive girlfriend out. He's like, no, I don't want your attention.
But that just proves that money won't solve all your problems.
He's a money simp.
So they go upstairs, and after complaining, actually Barbara takes his computer, like he said, and basically goes up to the top deck and is whipping it off the boat and says, bye-bye.
Bye-bye, work.
It's not backed
Bye-bye.
up. So he's like freaking out. He's like, Barbara, that's my life.
No!
What are you doing?
No!
And then Vicky and Howard, which is an older married couple, are just like chilling like married couples should. They've been through all this.
they've already been through it all. And legitimately, it was like this... That was like a 5-minute scene, and then within seconds, a black storm rolls in, and if someone's like, "Oh, look at the storm's happening," they like turn
and then it goes
away,
to the sky,
and they turn back, and the clouds are like rolling in, and they're like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah. At first, they notice they see it. It's literally looking like it's just unnatural as hell.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, look at that.
Again, the worst cloud effects I've ever seen.
There's a seashore town off in the horizon, and they start to decide to go. And then the storm just gets crazy and rages on really fast. It's out of the control, and they hit a rocky cove little increase or like kind of thing.
Yeah, and Vicky was down under the decks when that happened. Her leg gets pinned in between some rocks and like some of the furniture in the boat. So when they come down to get her, they're like, "Oh my god, can you move your leg?" She's like, "No." And again, this is where I'm calling shenanigans. At worst, she has a busted leg, right?
I don't know.
Like what? Are you trying to tell me that she just couldn't? She's like, "I can't move." There's no part of my body. It's like you have two grown men and Barbara, who later we know Barbara kicks ass. Okay, so I know for a fact Barbara's got like some Krav Maga or some like Taibo or some crap.
Work it! Squat, punch! Ow, punch! I'm destroyed!
Whoa, you know karate!
Oh, that was Taibo!
She could totally...
She definitely got Taibo.
Dude, all three of those guys could have lifted Vicky up, got her out of that boat. There's no reason that they needed her to stay.
I think her leg was actually pinned. I think you should believe women. I think you should believe women more.
But they pulled her out. They saw that happen.
They pulled her out?
Yeah. They lifted up the boat, the furniture that was sticking to her, and they pulled Vicky out. So there's a scene where like he like props her up, and she's just like laying there in Paul's arms, like,
"Oh, okay.
Are we gonna make it, Paul?"
I guess she gets out, but she's still injured enough to not be able to get on a floaty, which is like what Paul and Barbara do. They go, it's like, well, we need to go get help. They choose to leave Howard and Vicky down there, and they start doing this inflatable paddle boat to shore.
I didn't think Vicky's leg problem was all that serious to begin with, right? like
I can just imagine Alex being in the boat before they left. Is like, I guess we'll go fucking get help, Vicky.
Yeah.
First. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Just like, oh, dude, my leg!
Yeah,
bleeding all over. Like,
Vicky's crying. I'd be like,
okay, Vicky,
I'd be like,
go.
All right, Vicky, I guess we'll go for your leg. All right. They keep going forward. They ditch the motor. They get into town. They immediately realize that there's nobody in this town. It's completely empty for what it seems. They run up to a church that they could hear the singing from the distance.
Yeah, they get there, and the whole town's empty.
Yeah.
Paul sees the symbolism in his dreams on the thing.
Oh, yeah.
He's just like, oh, God, what's going on? Okay, wait, we can still run.
Yeah,
he had a moment. He had a little moment.
Yeah, well, and that was like the only good thing Paul did in this movie.
What, realize that this thing's going?
No, he noticed something happening. He registered it, and then he kept going. He didn't stop.
Like any dumb protagonist needs to be. They have to be dumb, but also be like part of the story.
Yeah, he just kept moving. Keep
going, plot.
Yeah, and I was like, there you go, Paul. There you go, bud.
Well, he's not going to bring it up right now. His dreams, he's going to be like,
wait,
Barbara, this is the same symbol.
He also tripped and dropped his glasses. I'm so tired of Paul dropping his goddamn glasses the entire movie. Like, brother.
Everything's always wet in this movie. It's constantly raining. Everything is wet.
I will say, out of all the shitting on this movie, I will be proceeding to do for the next, like, however long this movie review is. That is my favorite part of the movie, is that it is the wettest movie in the entire world. There wasn't a point in this movie that Paul isn't just sopping wet, just absolutely.
It's always raining too.
He looks like an Oreo that got left in the milk too long. You know what I'm saying? They open up the church, the singing stops immediately, and a priest comes out, and they immediately get him, and they're like, "Hey, we're having issues. We need some help. Come get us." They go out to the water, and there's no police in the city. There's no one to get the boat, but they're able to ask some fishermen.
I'll get rid of the and just say fishman.
so stupid. I'm sorry. That was just like an extra long pause, like freeze frame. They ask these fishermen. You can tell immediately that there's something off with these guys, right? They just look. They're like they have this. Everyone in this town has this ridiculously pale skin.
They're wearing big old black glasses in the middle of a rainstorm, kind of obviously hiding something.
Right. And so, Paul gets on the boat, cuts his finger a little bit on the fish hook, goes off to sea.
Also, Paul, this is one of his dumb moves. Before they go, Paul says to the Barbara, because Barbara's like, "I'll stay with here. You go on the boat." Even though he was afraid of water, he's like, "I'm not going to let you go on the boat."
Yeah.
But then he's like, "I don't want to leave you with this creep." And then apparently the priest speaks English as well. He's like, "Hey, what the fuck?"
I'll end you!
Yeah, I will say, though, Paul was right.
Yeah, he was pretty right about that, but still it's kind of rude, but still he's right.
He called it. He called it for sure.
So Barbara goes to the hotel to use the phone. This creepy dude there at the counter, not answering her questions. He's like speaking perfect Spanish, asking to use the phone or maybe a room. I will admit, when I watched this movie, the Spanish subtitles weren't English. They were just Spanish.
That's for everyone.
Okay, so you just gotta speak Spanish or you're fucked.
Yeah, so basically this...
But that actually goes with the feeling that they're trying to convey in the movie.
It might be... It is and it isn't. So the movie was made in Spain for financial reasons. So that is why so much of the movie is in a different language. Barbara gets taken immediately.
Yeah. It's funny.
The priest rolls in and he's trying to talk to the clerk, and the clerk's just like...
Yeah, just standing there. And then she picks up. I think it's so funny because she starts to smoke a cigarette in the hotel. She's like, "Oh my god, whatever." Gets stressed. Lights up a cigarette. As soon as she lights up the cigarette, I like to think he's like, "No tolerance policy." Just grabs her. It's like, what the fuck?
This is a no smoking hotel.
They start choking her right before the camera cuts off. The one guy just choking her. Mm-hmm. And then it snaps to our boy Paul with the two fishermen. They go check out the boat. But we did skip a scene. Vicky and Howard, they're in the boat when Barbara and Paul are going to shore, and Vicky feels something in the water.
Something in the water. Yeah. The water went from red to black. And in my head, I just kept thinking, no one noticed that?
Yeah, they didn't notice it, and then...
Yeah, so you didn't notice the whole thing just turned black?
They noticed something move,
yeah.
And then I guess at that point, she reaches in the water, she notices the water is black.
And then they cut from that at that point.
Actually, the water starts bubbling up.
Wow.
And then it bubbles up, and they're like, "Ah!" They start screaming like something's getting her.
Something did get her.
Something got her.
Yeah, something got her.
Good.
We'll talk about that. Both of them, technically. And so, yeah, they get to the boat. No one's there. He picks up a flashlight. At that point, Paul just goes back to the hotel, which makes sense. He was told that Barbara left to go to a police station an hour away because there were no police in the town. And so so go to the hotel. She'll be back. Wait there. He gets to the hotel, and him trying to talk
oh my God.
to the hotel clerk, because again, the hotel clerk just...
yeah.
And he's a dick. So he's like, "Hotelo Rumo, pleaso." Mm-hmm. And you're like, all right, dude. Wow. He gives him a room key after some really awkward dialogue. He goes upstairs, and I love it. I outwardly laughed at this. He's walking in the hallway, and it's dead silent. All you hear is, "Oh," and then nothing.
Yeah.
Just dead silence, and Paul looks around like, And then they never do anything like that sound in that type of scene ever again. It's not like he was getting haunted by something, and it was just like the weird, oh.
Once he gets to the hotel, it's perfect if you're Feeple, which I will be referring to the.
Oh, I love Feeple is such a good term.
So we're just gonna call him Feeple from now on because there's gonna be a lot of them. So
of different genders and designs. Mm-hmm. So Feeple is a strong one.
Yeah. Paul gets to his room.
Dirtiest room.
It's the worst. It's the worst.
I love how he notices the bed. First of all, he goes in the room. The whole room is fucking filthy, right? And he's walking around. He's like, oh, this is terrible. And he goes to sit on the bed, and he lifts up the covers, and the covers is dirty. And that's when he's like, oh, this isn't gonna be what I'm living in.
He's like, no fucking way.
Yeah, and he goes to go.
The phone works. Everything's horrible up to this point. He walks in and there's a window wide open. It's just like raining down the wood. It's just like splashing all over. He walks past it, doesn't even shut the window.
And I just like to think that Paul thought that this was the time he was gonna get through that hotel clerk. And now that hotel clerk's gonna come on down and fix my issues.
I wish it did. He did answer the phone, like it worked, and then you just hear it, and all you hear is breathing.
Silence.
Como estaso?
Room dirtio. It's like, Paul, that's not how you're insulting the language right now, bud. First off, I do want to touch base on it. That room, a little bit of R&R, a little cleanup, be a nice spot. Overlooking the town center, beautiful. But no, he has that dream, remember? Where he has a dream that it looks like someone who was dressed as Barbara walks in the room and like to the window, and he goes and walks up to like Barbara and turns around, and it's the chick from the water nightmare we had earlier in the movie, dressed as Barbara, just kind of staring at her, with the craziest eyes.
Yeah, she turns, opens her mouth,
smiles.
Tentacle, yes, smiles, then tentacle bursts out and screams.
Ah! And then that's when he wakes up and sees the fish people just water.
Rain on my skin. Dagon.
All the people are just like, this is great.
Rain, Dagon. And then one woman notices him up there in the balcony, points, says some weird language.
Yep.
They all just start, collaborating and listening, and just rush to the thing. And this would be kind of creepy for me if you imagine yourself in this situation.
Yeah,
scenario,
I mean, this part would be kind of freaky. Paul attempts to he tries to get in, and he immediately is like, "Oh, they're coming! I gotta lock this room down." No lock,
because they're all there now, and they get silent for a second, and then he says something. He says,
"What do you want?
Can I help you?" And they're all like, ah! And they start getting louder, start banging on the door. We're Feeple!
Yeah, and at this point is when I was kind of like, Paul, you absolute moron. Like, the only thing he should have did in that moment, again, shoulder against the door, dead silent, putting that other screw in. Or move that nasty shit-stained bed in front of the doorway.
I ain't touching that fucking mattress.
Touch the frame. You don't have to pick it up.
So he retreats to the other bathroom, holds onto that door for a little bit, but then there's another door that opens, more people come in, he's like, screw this, and then jumps out the window. Psh,
nice little chase scene, I liked it.
He falls into a warehouse.
He immediately pulls out his pocket knife, he's like, I'm ready to go. And he kind of like walks over to a door, peeks out, people are coming. He sees a car, they get some orders, they start like kind of coming in on the place, and he hides. He's looking around, and that's when he realizes they're peeling people's skin off.
Yeah, there's like some human skin jerky that are hanging on like meat hooks, along with also pigs. There's pig skin and shit too.
Yeah, as soon as like people are all around him, he turns around, he sees his friend Howard's skin, he's like, Howard, no! He just starts screaming, and I'm like...
Yeah, okay, you might call Paul an idiot, but here's the thing. If that was me hanging on that little hook, bloody, all fresh,
Michael,
I wish you were a good enough friend to have that reaction.
I would.
Like,
I would.
Michael, no!
Michael, you know what I would do?
What?
I would do it under my breath like a damn adult. You know, I would cry my tears of pain with my freaking fingers in my mouth and my mouth shut because I'm surrounded by people in a town I don't know with only a pocket knife and people are hurt.
If you're not willing to scream to the high heavens in remembrance of me, then I think this is the last review.
So he gets some flammable liquid, some gasoline, and he's like trying to make his escape, and he starts lighting the place on fire. And then comes the most funny cartoon escape in the entire thing. He like picks up a picture frame as everyone's running out. He picks up a picture frame with someone's skin attached to it because they were using it to dry it out. And he uses the skin to cover him up like he's not wearing a bright orange sweatshirt. So he's like, oh, this is going to hide him. None of these people are going to see his bright orange sweatshirt as he's covered up by, the world's smallest piece of, human skin. Yeah.
I also thought it was really funny in this scene. Like, while they're searching for him, they're talking amongst each other, the people. They code switch. Like, code switch from just speaking Spanish to, like, dolphin Spanish. Because intermingled with the Spanish, there's, like, legitimate just, like,
fish noises.
Sound from, like, don't.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't even do it. But.
Yeah, like, they had a lot of sound bites in this that I think they just threw in to, like, conversation to change up what they sound like.
There's sometimes where it works. There's sometimes where it's pretty cheap.
Yeah, I think it's only when they're using nothing but feeple speech, feeplin. Yeah, fleeplish.
Okay, coin it.
Fleeplish.
After that, his grand escape. He's wandering through the alleys after his.
They found my man, boy.
Ezekiel
Bread
comes out.
Ezekiel,
he's a champion.
He's a crazy man. He's a drunk. And he's our expedition jump of the movie. He is the one that kind of like, hey man, you guys want to find out what happened here?
I have so much to tell you. Once when I was a little boy. Paul shushes him because he's about to maybe scream because they get surprised at each other.
And he holds the pocket knife up to him. Don't you say a word. I'm going to kill you.
So I guess Ezekiel is like a villager, but apparently he's not affected by this whole fish curse thing. But also when they're hiding this, I like this thing that's like, crawls past them.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
So basically someone who's transformed too much into a feeple, walking by. And he tells us the story about what happened, where the town used to be a Catholic village, praying to Jesus Christ and God and all the Holy Spirits. But God wasn't bringing in the fish. Except for I do like it that they say that, and the net that they caught had fish in it.
Yeah, but wasn't enough.
Wasn't enough for the village.
Oh, the village is called Imboka.
Imboka, yeah. So in Imboka, they were praying, and then like a fisherman busts into the church, eyeliner looking just done up, and he's like, Jesus Christ ain't gonna give you no fishes. You know who's gonna give you the fishes? Dagon.
And his last name is Kumboka.
Kumboka, yep.
And he's apparently just a renowned fisherman there. And after a while, he does this. It snaps to him with some of his followers doing this like ceremonious summoning thing with this golden chain, with this like golden pyramid lure thing that he throws in the water.
And then he says a prayer, says Cthulhu Dagon, which is actually a shortened prayer. And I don't know if it's from the Dagon story, because they say specifically Cthulhu, which is different than Dagon.
I think they're asking Cthulhu for permission to call upon Dagon because Cthulhu is like daddy.
Yeah, well, it's hard because I don't know if that's actually. I you know what? Admittedly, the hierarchy of the Lovecraftian gods, not in my. I have it saved on my phone, but I don't want to look at it right now.
Cthulhu's top dog, but
yeah. So he like looks up. He's like, "Oh my God, he's here!" But the prayer, in general, is says, in his house at Ryland dead Cthulhu waits dreaming. Which, in context to like everything that's happening, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but what are you gonna do, right? You know, they're doing their best here.
They start catching fish, and they also like start getting treasures in their nets. Like
gold and fish. What a deal!
I know.
It's like a 2-for-1.
Too good to be true.
Two for one. Well, but then the gold stopped, and they required sacrifice, and that's where they sacrificed Ezekiel's parents. But Ezekiel never worshipped Dagon, which is why he never transformed into Dagon, and he stayed a human.
They repurposed the church. The villagers that knocked down everything, it became the Church of Dagon.
Yep.
And that's when starts things slowly going towards fishy. It started getting fishy around there, and then it just goes back to modern day.
I just dawned on me on this one. That village has got to just smell terrible.
Oh yeah. Not only is it wet and sucky,
It's always wet. So imagine if a fish was outside of the water and then just never showered. Like it didn't have like the water from the ocean to naturally like cleanse itself in its own way. Just the absolute worst card shop smell.
And that's not even, we don't even know the possibilities of like what a human fish hybrid's BO smells like. Because they're not caring about washing up. So you also got human BO on top of fish BO.
It's like you go to your local game store, you're playing Magic the Gathering, you're sitting next to a guy who hasn't showered in a while. I can only imagine it's that if he just cracked up 2 packets of sardines under his armpits at all times. So they get back and basically Paul was like, I need a car. And Ezekiel's like, there is no cars in Imboka. And he's like, I saw a car. It was the car of a kind of a more established family. And the guy's name was Xavier. Mm-hmm. And so they basically sneak up.
Yeah, Ezekiel was like, okay, I'll take you to Xavier's hideout.
You know what I think it is? I think Ezekiel was always going to be down because like he's like the only other human. And there's got that connection right there. Like, if I was in a town and I was the only human left, and the rest of us were people, I think the first human I'd see would be like, we're cool.
You mean? We're teaming up.
Yeah, we're teaming up right now. Because if you can get me out of here...
Get that pocket knife out of my fucking face.
Yeah.
Because he constantly uses it, too.
Yeah, and it's not very threatening.
Get my fucking son out.
So, like, Ezekiel makes a kind of a show, distraction. Paul tries to get into the car, and like he starts to go to hotwire it, and immediately in my notes I said, "Yeah, sure, he can hotwire." ... Nice try, Paul. Because as soon as he puts 2 wires together, the freaking horn starts honking. Just,
Yeah, and the people are just like,
yeah, and so he runs. No, and at this point, he runs inside the house as they try and like handle Ezekiel because he was, obviously he's been caught, he's been had, and so he gets in the house and he's like hiding from people, and he goes in this room and he sees the girl from his dreams, and the girl from his dreams kind of shoos away some of the people that were looking for him in there.
Oh, it's actually her father, Xavier, that comes in.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Opens the door.
Yes.
And you can see in the crack of the door frame, because Paul's hiding behind it like this. Like, oh my god.
And you can kind of see his his fish parts.
Yeah, his deformities are showing. We
don't want to call them deformities because that's what he wants. Right?
Okay,
it's a choice.
Okay, his different from humanness.
And that's when we get to meet Fia, who...
Is that her name? I thought it was like Uzia or like it's UX. It's UXIA.
Actually, yeah, you're right. Uxia. So we'll call her Uxia going forward because that's what they have on IMDb. But shout out to her. I've never seen, or I haven't seen in a very long time, an actress whose eyes just like were piercing. Mm-hmm. Like truly, every time she like wide-eyed the camera at all times in this movie, I was like just terrified. I was like, I could feel her looking at me through the movie.
Yeah. So she knows because I think she's been having dreams too about him.
So they're having the dreams about each other, and
they know. And it's just like
and there's like this connection right away.
A weird connection.
Yeah, a weird connection, and he's like sits on the bed with him. He's like, and she's like, I've been having dreams, and she's like, I have been too. And so she goes like kissing.
she feels his face like And then like kisses it. Right
No,
there.
she like takes a finger, rubs it on her lip, and then or on his lip, and then brings it to her lip and goes, I'm like, ugh, brother.
And Paul is just like entranced by this moment because he starts to feel it, and he's like, no, I
Yeah,
can't.
and, yeah. Well, but they end up start kissing. Like he falls into it because he's already thinking Barbara's dead. That's how it is.
Move on.
Yeah, he's like, ah, she's been dead for like an hour.
She's constantly pestering me with these like free
Yeah,
blowjobs.
stop working. I don't want blowjobs. And they start making out, and again, little tasteful nipple. And he starts feeling a little lower than the nipple, and she's got gills. And so he like gets up, he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. He pulls off the sheets.
And then he freaks the fuck out because he's never seen a vagina before.
Yeah.
Like, what's my boy, Paul? Have you not seen a vagina
Yeah,
before?
obviously vaginas are 3 gigantic tentacles that make up your lower half. Everyone knows this.
Idiot.
So yeah, and so these tentacles are just like flying through the air. And just, Paul, come back, Paul! And he's like, no.
I gotta go.
he's like, no. And again, another great part. He runs out of the movie, or not of the movie, but I wish he ran out of the movie.
Screen break.
Yeah, when he read the script, he was like, gotta go. He runs out of the mansion, and
Did you think this next part was funny? Come with the fight scene.
So the chauffeur is wearing a jacket. He takes the chauffeur's jacket, like pulls it down so his arms are trapped, and then he kicks him in the fish nuts. Because at least the fish testicles, whatever. Yeah. And then, and they get on the ground. They're rolling, and he starts beating him with that cell phone. Then he's like, "I need to get a bigger cell phone."
So he gets in the car and starts moving. He gets going. And it's like, hey, let's just get the fuck out of here. And then he just feels the urge. He bending around in the village. He sees this little group of mob people. He's like, guess what? I'm gonna run these motherfuckers over. And
I wrote, I hate Paul so much. Car. He runs the car.
Yeah, and then he gets out of the car because they're all over the car, and he's like, scrambling because. I'll give this one movie thing. I loved the decision. Like, it's never not moving. It's always kinetic. It's like literally there's constant action. It's like there's no time where nobody's not running away. Nobody's doing something. It's just constantly moving. Paul's constantly running away from this town that's trying to engulf him.
And see, I liked that. I would like that part was cool for me, but like that was the entirety of the movie, right? It's like Mission Impossible, where it's just the chase scenes. And like I would have loved it if the mansion part lasted longer. Not necessarily with Uxia and like them making out and all that nonsense, but like just like expand this family out a little bit. Maybe hint at different things that come in the movie because
Like you wanted it to be a little bit more Resident Evil 70.
break up the monotony of just having him on the run the entire time. Because to me, at a certain point, I was like, all right, I need something.
You want some Deep One's lore, some like weird awesomeness.
Well, because like the problem with it is that Paul is a terrible runner. And he's terrible at running away from all these things. So every time he like runs away and he's doing something, he just makes the absolute most dipshit decisions. Like when he gets out of the car and his first instinct is to go towards the fish that he ran over and not just book it. And then he immediately gets caught and he tries to beat one off with a hubcap. Like that's going to work well.
Yeah, it worked anyway.
Yeah, like he just made he just made so many dumb decisions because after he loses that hubcap, he runs away, gets into a house, and the house is like waist deep. He gets scared by a frog, and then like he sees a child that starts screaming, and versus him just being like, okay, child screaming, I just need to get out of here. He tries to
hush the kid.
Yeah,
He's like,
hush the kid. But clearly he's indoctrinated. He's not going to get away from that, right?
But then Daddy's home. He's home to play.
He was like it looks like an alligator in the water, which was a cool choice that they made in the movie, or director's choice probably. Swims up like an alligator, comes up, starts attacking him, stuffs Paul's head in the most nasty toilet I've ever seen in my
It's
life.
full of, like
probably.
salamanders or newts. They put like lizards in the toilet to make it look just like
Imagine the toilet from Train Spotting, but then add insects and frogs.
Mm-hmm.
That's what kind of what it gave me that vibes. He kills him with a toilet.
He grabs the top part of the toilet and just goes, whooshka, and smacks him in the head. But what I like about this whole scenario is the fact that this young boy doesn't look like Fishy at all. This young boy lives with his dad or family member.
Normal guy.
Normal kid. And he's just like, he's just living in this, like, foot of water. It's like, that's just, like, thriving, I guess.
So I guess the thought process is...
He doesn't believe in Dagon. I like to imagine...
Puberty.
Puberty
turns
needs to
in...
set in?
Yeah,
Okay.
so Uxia was a normal chick until puberty hit, and then her legs fell off, and her octopus tentacles grew in.
That's not...
I mean, that's... Or they became tentacles. But then you gotta ask yourself, if her legs became tentacles, where did the third one grow from?
Grass.
Uxia used to be called Muxia.
Oh, yeah. But I like to imagine that kid and the dad, just like the kid's not
Hanging
turned
out.
yet.
Yeah, they're just chilling.
And they're just hanging, just like the dad's cooking some Campbell soup on the stovetop. He's just like...
So have you thought about going to Dagon Church recently?
That's what I was thinking. That's what I was having. It's like,
Have you gone to the after Dagon Church care?
we really got to get those gills on, kid. We really got to get those gills. We're about to go meet Dagon and the everlasting.
It's like, you know who really liked Pokemon? Dagon. Hey, son, do you want to be a water type?
You have no choice.
He gets caught right there, basically.
Yeah, Paul gets netted. He runs out, he gets netted the
Oh
whole
yeah,
time.
not the net. He gets hit with the net. And there's like a slow motion scene. Where he's like, oh.
But it makes sense that would be super effective against him, as we'll find out later.
I actually thought it was kind of funny that they did the net thing because it was like it's super ironic that the people are using the net. We've transitioned to our next scene, and Barbara's alive, and not just Barbara, but Vicky too,
But
and our boy Ezekiel.
Ezekiel's there too. The whole gang. Howard, rest in peace. But Vicky is a little bit worse for wear.
Yeah, they took her leg. They totally cut off the one that was damaged. I don't know why. It was merely broken.
Maybe it was a little bit more damage than you think, Alex.
But it was implied right here that when Vicky was offered up to Dagon as a concubine would be the word.
I think so.
Either way, Dagon implanted a child in her. I don't like that word. But whoops.
And she's like kind of delirious at this point. She starts describing that. It's like, oh my
Yeah.
God, it's describing the process a little bit.
She's terrified, and they try to be like, "Oh no, it's they took your leg, so it must have been the medication. It caused you to hallucinate."
Barbara's trying to like settle her down by being like, maybe they gave you some pain meds that made you.
And Ezekiel's like, "Nah, dog, you got taken."
No, he
No,
fucked you, man.
for sure he fucked you.
Don't be mistaken.
No mistake, Dagon was in your ass.
Ezekiel just landed on the truth. I may be a crazy drunk, but I know Dagon fucked you good.
I smell Dagon when I see it.
No, man. No, is she kidding me?
No,
He got fucked.
dude, I can see it still on your hair. Oh,
Shut
God.
the fuck up. Sometimes you don't need the truth.
Yeah, Paul's like, no, whoa, no. But Barbara's smart. Barbara immediately tried to be like, hey, it's a dream. The people start running in. They're like, got
Barbara
knives.
makes this. It's like Barbara pulls Paul to the side, and is like, "Hey man, for real though, if that fucking happens to me,
Dude, if Dagon's trying to get his gills in me, you gotta kill me."
yeah, if I'm covered in Dagon juice, fucking off me, promise." And Paul's like, "Okay, I promise."
Which is like that is super, super reasonable. I think that's reasonable. But the people come in and they're like, we have no choice. We got they're like trying to figure it out. Vicky's screaming. Shit's going down. They open up the door and Paul immediately jumps at him.
Yeah.
Ezekiel jumps in. Barbara like, jumps out. But I love it because Barbara immediately just like punches one dude, elbow, bam, sorry. And then spin kicks.
Sorry.
Yeah, spin kicks this one. I'm just like, excuse me, who's Barbara? Where has she been training?
This is 2001, but this is a generic 90s movie.
No, I just don't know, like, first off, how did Barbara get taken by that hotel clerk and the priest when she's like just, like, she was a badass.
They fail the fight, actually. They get overtaken again.
Yeah. This part was intense, dude. I'll give the movie this. This part, when you want to talk about like Lovecraftian and stuff, this part was like, oh, that's something that's so true for what this type of movie goes for, and I wasn't expecting it.
So Vicky gets the knife somehow, finds it on the floor during this whole thing because there was a knife involved. And she just looks at everybody, just like I can't do this. This is the only way.
The only way.
And she just goes out like a fucking samurai.
Yeah, just guts herself. I'm like,
Saboku's herself.
Samboku. Regardless of what it was super intense, and everyone's just kind of looking like, holy.
Even the people were just like, respect, man.
Yeah, people's like, dog.
Yeah, she just offs herself.
Mm-hmm. They take Barbara away. They take Ezekiel and Paul, and they take Ezekiel and Paul to basically a shed, and
it's the warehouse where the skins were on hooks, basically.
Right,
skinning room.
And so they're going to skin Paul and Ezekiel. And here is where that was the last scene we just talked to was super great. And here's like the second one that is like a real standout because every other part was like unintentionally funny, if you ask me. Like this movie was not meant to be a comedy, so every funny part that happened, I can't give it to them. But this was intentionally like supposed to be like this, and they nailed it. Ezekiel and Paul have like a moment. Ezekiel starts praying, and the priest starts skinning his head off, or his face.
Yeah.
And like Paul's like praying with him, and they're like slowly ripping Ezekiel's face, and they didn't skip out on the detail. Like typically when you like do like skinning, like people like get skinned off their face in movies, it's like this super kind of like obscured. You see some parts, you see some not. This was like full-fledged, like you saw him like struggling to lift the skin off.
You can see the beard hair on his thing just being lifted up too with the skin.
Yeah, it was wild. It was super intense. And then
I thought it was a badass scene by Ezekiel too before he gets skinned because he's like he connects with. It's like Paul like apologizes if I would have brought you to this. You would have done. It's like no, don't apologize.
You remind me of my father. What he wanted what kind of like man he wanted me to be. It was a real cool bonding moment. That part was super, super good. All right, before Paul gets skinned, who comes in?
Xanadu.
The ultimate female sim, Uxia.
And she's like, no, she wheels in a wheelchair.
Not my man.
It's like, put him down. He's chosen.
Yeah, and she's got a lot of power. She's got a lot of power in the town, and he basically she basically looks at the priest like, hey, you don't know who this is. I know that he holds more importance. You can't kill him.
He basically, and also, yeah, he's like, doesn't she say, we need to be together. Your fate is with me in the water. And it's like, and he's bargaining. He's trying to bargain with her. It's like, if you just let Barbara go. And she's like, well, no, Dagon needs a sacrifice.
Yeah, and it's like, and then she was like, and at the end of the day, where we're going, you will never forget, you will never remember her, you will never care for her. In the eternity of immortality where we are meant to be, who she is does not matter. And so I will not I will not spare her. And you kind of see this character who's all about probability in this movie and like statistics kind of just come to terms where he's like, he has this like real like moment like, oh, well, I guess this is really it. I had no choice to begin with.
She leaves the room being like, okay, I said my shit. Mic drops.
Yeah,
like, okay.
It was like a real power move for sure.
And then the priest.
All three tentacles shivered, and she walked out. She's like, yeah. She's like,
good. Can't wait to spend eternity with my new dick boy. Well, a tentacle boy. I don't know what he's gonna do.
Yeah, who knows what he's gonna turn into? How that's gonna work out.
But she leaves, and the priest and the one henchman start taking him down, Paul down from the hooks, and then he just goes, and just gets their knives. And fucking goes crazy machete.
Yeah, and he stabbed the one who's looking at the priest like, I'm not some old man, come get some. Yeah. And he stabs the priest in the chest. I'm like, dang, Paul, where'd you come from? After that scene right there, they immediately cut to a scene of Uxia and Barbara, who are at like this ceremony stand because they're going to present her to Dagon like they did with Vicky. Yeah. And you can tell they're carving symbols into Barbara's skin. You can tell Uxie is really enjoying it.
Yeah, we got some more boobs.
Yeah, because at that in the previous scene, he's like, she said, I may be different than you, but I still have feelings. And in the next scene, you can see she's psychotic, but you can see her taking her like frustrations out on Barbara, who clearly
I'm about to carve a bitch.
Paul really likes and is into, but it not as much as like she wants him to be into her as much as he's into Barbara. Mm-hmm. And so she's like, yeah.
So I drove my keys into Barbara's skin.
Yeah, Barbara's like, that's enough. And she's like, I say when it's enough. And keeps going.
And it's basically Temple of Doom style. If you ever seen that movie, getting ready for a sacrifice and lowering her down into this sort of really deep well with water at the bottom.
And like the water's bubbling, and of course
the lure thing.
Yeah, of course, Barbara's completely nude for this scene.
Has to be.
Well, yep, because she's going in the water.
Dagon doesn't know how to take off clothes.
Yeah, Dagon does not know how to do bras. bras, buttons, and zippers are just not Dagon. So they're like, we'll make it easy for him. And with they get in there, and Paul starts causing a scene.
Well, Paul finds gasoline out there.
Oh yeah, he does come up with a tank of gasoline from the shed from earlier.
And then he goes up there, stairs. He sees everybody crowding around and be like, "Yeah, Dagon, get that pussy, beat it up." She's like, everybody's rooting him on. I wish I had the team like that when I was having sex. Bunch of people in my stand just be like, "You got it, man. You got it."
Only people. He starts lighting the people on fire.
He starts going.
Yeah. He starts lighting them on fire, and like they drop Barbara. She plummets. She hits the water. The wheel's spinning. And there's like a 10-second scene.
Like, fuck.
That's what I kind of wrote about in my notes. The wind is spinning high speeds, dropping her. So all this chain's getting loose. There's a ton of slack. And then as in the chaos, Paul comes up, takes his wrench, jams it in the gears to stop it, takes it out and starts cranking it the other way really, really slowly. Whether there's resistance or what the issue was, he's cranking it super slowly with how much chain slack was just created.
It was continuity error.
Yeah, a little continuity error. They bring up Barbara, and she's just covered in Dagon black ooze.
Yeah,
he just oozes that around him.
He probably has the decency to just like, I don't want to freak my date out too much. Let me just fill the room, set the mood.
Either way, she's covered with this goo, and Paul goes up to get her, and she's like, "Kill me, dude! Kill me right now!" And he's like, "I can't do it." And then the worst CGI I've seen I've seen better CGI in a sci-fi movie. Actually, this could have been a sci-fi channel. Oh. Could have been like a sci-fi straight to movie or straight to TV movie. Dagon comes out of the water and pulls Barbara and like rips her arms off, and her arms are still dangling there, and he's just like, oh.
I almost liked how bad the CG was because I couldn't even see what it was. It almost helped to its benefit because I was just like, what the
fuck is that? I think it helped for its benefit, but I would say though, and the problem is they meant it to be bad, right? Oh, yeah. And even if they did a really, 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 really good job in the CG, and it was just absolutely just chef's kiss. The scene was less than a second, right? It was just a flash of him coming forward, and then it cut right away. So even if it was a beautifully done CGI, I don't think that it would have ruined the mystery of what he looked at because of how fast the scene was. Mm-hmm. But yeah, either way, Barbara, unfortunately, sleeper agent, rest in peace, rest in Dagon.
She'd still be alive, maybe.
For sure, no.
Maybe she grew gills.
And that's when we get like another like odd at the end dump of exposition when Xavier comes up.
Yeah, they're about to off Paul.
Uxie is like crawling toward Paul, like, no, Paul, no.
And she starts to explain, he's
that's my dad.
Yeah. Xavier comes. Xavier, Daddy, no, and is like, she pulls his shirt up and reveals like he has some markings
that look like gills. And so he has gills on his chest, and it turns out that Xavier is Paul's dad. And because in the beginning of the movie, he's like, "Oh, well, I'm from here, but my mom like ran away as soon as it happened," and like
Zia is just like kind of like half sister and brother.
Yeah, so they're half siblings.
Mothers.
Yeah, they're half siblings, but they're like, "But we're going to be together forever." And Paul's like, "All right, I'm taking the Vicky."
Oh yeah, Xavier. I'm pulling a Vicky.
I'm pulling a Vicky.
They do the Xavier reveal, which that was pretty cool. Xavier reveal looks basically like Davy Jones got hit with a bunch of Davy Stones.
They look like a fat Davy Jones because fish are thick, right? So like his face looked really like bulbous, and Paul stands up and he's like, "Well," pours the gasoline on his head. He lights himself on fire, and Fia straight up like tackles him into the water.
Yeah, she does a dash action.
I'll tell you what, Fia.
When she sets her eyes on a man,
Fia,
there's nothing that's going to stand in the way.
I think the thing it's kind of funny. It's kind of not. Fia is insane, but she's your number one, man. She's your ride or die. Yeah. Like, Thea would take a bullet for Paul. For sure.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Something very loyal and beautiful.
Yeah, there's nothing about this. The loyalty to that's nice. But they hit the water, and as soon as they hit the water, Paul, like, his gills start opening up, and he's like, you know what?
He's a crispy marshmallow, but he's like, he's breathing. He's kind of bewildered in this wonderment of state. It's like this is his dream.
Mm-hmm. You know? Yeah, and he's kind of just like really, he immediately is just kind of like, all right, well.
I mean, he sees Zia,
all right.
He sees Zia, swimming around like this, and
he starts breathing. I think he just like at that moment in the moment that he's in and the gills open up. I don't know if it's like he just like realized at that point that there's no use trying to fight what's going on or what, but he just kind of like accepted it, and he was like, "This is, I guess, it." Mm-hmm.
They swim away together, and they swim into the Dagon giant
the gigantic pit that we saw in the beginning of the movie with the big symbol. They swim into it, and that's
ends with the H.P. Lovecraft quote, which I didn't write down, but
it's.
You're going to see it right here on the screen right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's Dagon. That was I'll tell you what. I would say this about Dagon, is that everything that they had, like the idea of the movie, the concept of the movie, it's what it needs to be. The execution of the movie, whether it be certain dialogue choices being a little weird, some decisions just being obviously too like bad, or just in general like the restrictions that this movie had within budget and like to do like, practical effects and CGI effects. They did what they could with what they had in regards to that. I truly think that if the same person had that same vision, but just more of a budget for practical and CGI effects, and then maybe a little bit more. I don't know what the writers of this movie, what their history was, where they were at when they wrote this movie, like what their history with the business is. But a lot of the narrative was just real weak, and I think that's kind of why every time I was watching, I was just like, my God, like I didn't really start caring about the characters until Paul got kidnapped and we saw them again, right? Like that. Like at that point is when I started getting into it because, I mean, and let's face it, that was the last 15 minutes of the movie. Maybe the last 15 minutes of the movie is when the movie got good for me. As soon as Paul got kidnapped and we had that whole strain of scenes where, you know, they're in the like the cage and then Vicky, you know, cuts her belly open and they go to do the face skinning and then the whole scene with Xavier and Uxia and Barbara in the pit and all that stuff. Like if you took that scene and then maybe like 2 or 3 scenes out of the entire movie, took those out and then polished everything else and put that back in, you would have had a good movie. You really would have.
Yeah, I figure this is like
5 out of 10.
review.
5 out of 10.
5 out of 10.
Yeah, 4 to 5 out of 10, maybe like 4.5. I can't give it like a good review because I didn't like a lot of it, but I liked the source material, so I'm a little biased. That's what I would say. I like the.
Oh, so it would have been lower if you didn't like the source material.
If the source material wasn't there, which was what basically this whole movie was riding off of, right? Mm-hmm. I don't believe that the people that wrote the dialogue for this movie could have wrote better backstory for the rest of the movie. So if you didn't have that and they were on their own to create a storyline for it, I don't know if it would have been even able to hold up with all the stuff that it already had.
Yeah, I don't know. I think so. One of the 5 out of 10. I'm gonna go with, you know. I feel like I agree with you with the whole sense of like the first half of the movie. If they would have chose to instead show so much of Paul trying to escape this village that's constantly encroaching on him, and beforehand gave the villagers more of a voice, like because for all intents and purposes, Xavier and then the Uzia are the only ones that talk on the side of Dagon. And then these villagers are basically mindless
zombies. They could have been zombies for all I care.
Yeah, it would have been cool if, like, maybe before things get erratic, there's a couple of scenes where he's talking to villagers and they're like, you know, they start to foreshadow.
You said it earlier, like Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 4, where like there's that whole beginning part of Resident Evil 4 where he like has like interactions, a couple different interactions with different villagers and stuff like that. There's more of a cast to talk to build the story. Like, if they just did more like that, like you were saying, and then like had maybe like one like chase scene that they wanted to have, could have been a definitely a more enjoyable watch for me personally.
Mm-hmm. But I think that's what because there's a game that's based off this same short story. And they almost make the same choices. It's supposed to be like a hit and run kind of thing, where the fear is almost from the point of being in a foreign place, where your surroundings instantly know that you're not the same, and which is basically
Lovecraft for sure.
Yeah, and then they all start. You're just constantly not comfortable at any point, any time. So they all are just trying to constantly get you. Maybe they could have made better choices in that ring, but that's how it's written, kind of. But then I just love the ending parts. It almost made me forget about everything up to that point. I enjoyed the practical effects somewhat, so I was kind of okay enjoying everything. Plus, it was funny. But then, like the tone of the movie at the end and the tone of the movie at the beginning are completely different. So it leaves like a weird taste overall about what's going on.
Yeah, it wasn't consistent enough because that's like I said earlier. I couldn't give them the funny parts to be a plus because they didn't mean it to be funny. Like they didn't. They meant.
I guess
to
the
be...
bigger phone scene. I guess I could see it why maybe they were a little bit. Okay, this is kind of like a funny fight. Yeah, it's like, I don't know why they made the decision.
Yeah, it's like every ounce of it was supposed to be like kind of like really like a action, kind of not action, but like a thriller. Like it's a horror thriller. He's running away. It's supposed to be high intensity. You know, you're right. The cell phone thing clearly was an attempt at humor, but like, why have it there?
It's just the decision making they used to make.
Yeah, like that fight between when he walked out of that fight and they got into a car, it was funny for some reason, which didn't match the rest of it.
You got to realize, Alex, that I talked about this with my wife recently. It's like, when did they stop having movie voiceovers for commercials before a movie came out? This was still during the time where this summer you thought you saw Robin Williams at his best. They're still doing that. In that
and then
time
he's like, should have got a bigger phone.
yeah, they're still doing that.
Yeah.
During this time.
Yeah.
So it's like
maybe we'll I'll have to watch the trailer and see what it's like. But yeah,
there's probably a voiceover.
So what'd you think of the movie, Mike? Give me a number.
I'm gonna give it a 6. I'm gonna give it a 6 because it actually has 69% on Rotten Tomatoes. But
yeah,
I enjoyed the ending so much of the idea. I think the main takeaway, probably what I haven't read the short story, but I love the idea of something like death. Like there's a change, an uncontrollable change that you cannot think, that you think you're not ready for. You fight it with all your natural reaction. It just seems like unfathomable. I don't want it. But then once you're plunged into it, it's almost like you have it in you already to adapt. It's like you don't know what you're not ready for.
Yeah.
And it's like as soon as you're thrown into the waters of just like this new existence, you sink or swim, and you usually are going to swim. You'll be surprised.
Yeah, which we'll do to get through everything.
Yeah, and how fast you'll acclimate to this new life.
I mean, I could see where it'd be a 69%, as a cult classic, and like maybe at the time when people saw it, it was a big deal, but it just doesn't hold up at the time. It's just that's just really it is what it is. It just doesn't hold up. 21 years later, just over 2 decades. So that was Dagon, though. If you guys have a movie you want us to review or talk about, or just shoot the shit like we like to do here at Uchi Tree about, comment below. Let us know what you thought of Dagon if you saw it. Correct us on anything if we got some stuff wrong, or just talk to us about what your feelings and your thoughts on what we had to say, and we'll keep it an open chat. We'd love to hear from you guys. And if Michael, you don't have anything else, we're just gonna call it a good day.
Praise Dagon.
Praise Dagon.